Welcome to Whahahappen, the podcast where we talk about our latest chismes,
or gossip with you non-Spanish speaking folks,
crazy travel stories, hood memoirs, and food and wine.
This is an adult podcast,
so some of our topics may make our listeners a wee bit uncomfortable.
Listener discretion is advised.
And if you're of legal drinking age,
grab a glass of wine
or a beverage of your choice and enjoy the show. Hi, welcome to another episode of Whahahappen.
Whahahappen. What's happening this week? What's going on?
I'm Lala.
And I'm Richmo. Wow, that was quick. This is like the quickest intro we've ever had so far. What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's well. Here we go. I guess, what are we talking about today? I guess I got a couple of things we could talk about. One is Lala had me look at a couple of shows, and I was like, okay, let's check this out. Turning a victim into a suspect, but they were turning victims into suspects of rape victims. They were turning rape victims into the suspects. It's a documentary that is on Netflix. And I gotta say, I was just like, well, I didn't know what it was, but it's like suspect victim. I was like, what kind of rabbit hole did she take me down this time? And man, it was pretty brutal. It was, well, first off, how did you find this? How did you click on the movie, first of all? And then when you went down this thing, what made you think that, you know what, I should watch this? Tell me.
Okay, so it's a very, very precise way I make these decisions. I literally just go like this with the remote and then press click.
Oh, yeah. So
and that's as like complicated as it gets.
Lala's playing Spin the Bottle on Netflix. She spins the bottle. I was like, ooh, that one.
Well,
I mean, I guess it's part of whatever, they're showing you movies. They're showing you movies based on what you've already seen and the kind of movies you watch. So I guess this was in that vein of something that you would like to watch because you actually watched it.
Well, because I watch a lot of like I said, a lot of true crime chingaderas. I just like watching that stuff, or like how they catch people like using CCTV and shit. And so I'm just like, oh my God, So I guess it was in that same like realm of topics that I watch constantly. And so I was like, what is this? What do you like? I didn't understand the title. I was like, victim /
suspect?
Question
mark? I didn't have a question mark.
I didn't have a question mark, but I was just like, well, that's very interesting. Like, click, and that's how I started watching this. And at first, I didn't understand what was happening. And I was like, why are they questioning the rape victim? Like, and I was like, oh my God, that's what this is. And I was like, holy crap. I just was so like, whoa. And I literally went down that rabbit hole, like just watched binge watched the whole thing. And then I was, just still watching. And then something else came up, which was Luckiest Girl Alive. And so I was like, oh, cool, And then I was like, oh crap.
Yeah, Luckiest Girl Alive. Can you not get any like the subject matter? It's the same subject matter, and to top it off, like mass shooting victims and but it's just all kind of intercut and all put together. So there's like a couple ideas, and it's just like, but it begs the question. It's just like in that movie, I don't know if you want to explain it, but they turn the suspect into a victim, and it's kind of like much the same like the first one, where you have like real life stories of interrogation techniques and the things that police and law enforcement do to kind of elicit a kind of statements, whether they be correct or incorrect. That's just what they do. And even if they're incorrect for someone like a rape victim, they take it as such, and they either turn it around or they charge the victim. And the victim suspect they were arresting these girls that like were saying that they were raped. And then all of a sudden it's just like, no, that didn't happen to you. How could it? And, we got video and this and that. And it's just like you go down this rabbit hole and the investigative reporters were like uncovering all these things and helping these girls. And it's just like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is, I was thinking about this today. Um, and I knew we were going to talk about this, but like, this is not, I mean, this is not just like, this is gross because it's fucking rape victims. And then, you have officers and cases where this is going on with rape victims. But what about like if it's somebody else that is like a victim of some other crime and they just don't want to do the paperwork or they don't want to do something else and then they get something turned around on them. I mean, it's kind of nuts that this kind of stuff goes on because of the way they ask you things. It could confuse you. If you watch this movie, Victim slash Suspect, it's pretty alarming. I mean, I get it. Everybody's gonna say, well, it's a particular, it's just a small case study. There's not a bunch of bad apples, but the fact that there is kind of scary. That
right?
I mean,
It,
this
it
should not
scared
happen to anybody.
it scared the shit out of me because, well, I'm a woman. And
Yeah.
how terrifying is it already, like, to have to go through that trauma of being raped and then you go to jail? Like, what? Like, this, it fucking blew my mind, which is why I was just like, I didn't even like, this was not even something that I thought, like a concept in my mind, that that I can go and be raped and then try to file a report, and then me end up being arrested on top of being raped, and then, like, what?
I
Like,
mean, what do you think?
it blew my
Right?
mind.
After being traumatized, you think somebody's going to be thinking straight? I mean, it almost
No.
seems like it's common sense that you would think that no, they're not going to be in the right state of mind. First of all, something traumatic has just happened to somebody, so they're not going to be thinking straight at all. I mean, they have to have that kind of understanding. But like I said, in these cases, it was, there was just a lot of things because the victims, you know, confessed to like, yeah, yeah, they like went along with it. And so it's just like they were made to believe that.
Okay.
Did what? I just felt
And
like I stopped
Richmo's
midair.
out.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. That was a little technical difficulty. It was actually the power went out, so it cut me off from the interwebs and our call. But I'm back. So where was I? I was always
Well, victims being turned into suspects for supposedly falsifying, like,
information. Yeah,
well,
based on tactics that police use
one
to.
of them was charged because she got a rape kit done. And I'm like, why? I don't
That's what you're
understand
supposed
this.
to do. You're supposed to get a rape kit. If
Yeah, but
yeah,
they said she was temperance with the evidence because she got, and I'm like, oh my God,
yeah, it's
I just,
amazing about what goes on, right?
I
Like
was
it's
so afraid. I mean, if I'm not already, like, on my high alert, because I take the metro everywhere. I try to, because, why not? It's easier. Um, I'm already on high alert. I'm always like paying attention. Like, is somebody following me? Like, as a woman, you grow up having this, you know,
like eyes
in the
behind
back,
your head kind of thing.
exactly in the back of your mind. But, like, when I was watching that movie, that documentary, when the girl got charged for getting a rape kit, and I was like,
Yeah,
literally for
that
tampering with evidence. Like, that's what
that's
they charged
that you
her
call that
with.
creating evidence, like
And
not
I'm
tampering with
like,
that evidence.
I was
Oh
just
boy.
like, why? I literally was like, what? Like, this happens? Like, how?
What I saw in the movie was just like, it's like the good old boys club or like, oh
Yeah,
guys will be
yeah.
oh yeah, they're just they don't know, it's just like what? You know what it was? I felt like they weren't nobody was doing their proper investigation. They were just like calling it
That
in.
is, I have never seen such negligence uh on the
That's
part
exactly
of
what it
the
is.
detectives. Just
Negligence.
straight up like you're just not doing your job. Like I and like yeah, I was so like literally I was like, well, damn, now you can't even fucking, you know, accuse your rapist because you might end up with charges for falsifying or whatever it is that they were doing. What was it that they were charging them with? Like making
Yeah,
false.
falsifying, making a false arrest, making a false accusation because it costs
Yeah.
money for paperwork and people investigating and
Yeah.
money is
And
spent.
literally
And
these
I'm sure
girls
it,
and they're all girls. Like they're literally like 18-year-olds. They're fucking early 20s. You're traumatized and like, oh my God. Like they treated them, they questioned them like they were the perpetrators, you know, and I was just like, oh, I was just so I just, you know, I was blown away. I literally I was watching it and then like in one of the, you know, because they show several girls' cases. And in one of them, I was just like sitting there like, no, say this, say that. Like
it's
I was
just like
trying to talk to her through the TV. Like,
right.
oh
No,
my God, what
I
if,
was taken back by the kind of, yeah, it's just absurd. And then you just feel for these girls because, you know, in a strange sense, it's just like it was almost like they were shaming the girls because they decided to drink, but they were taken advantage of. But then,
yeah,
like, they make it seem like, well, maybe it was your, I like the pressure of like, oh, you were drinking, you had consensual sex, and you were doing this, and you allowed it to happen, and you didn't say no then, and this is you then.
yeah.
Like that guy's like, well, we have video. You were kissing, you were making out with this guy. It was
And it wasn't
consensual,
even the right video.
and it
It
wasn't even
wasn't
the
even
right
her
video.
in the video.
It was not even
Yeah, it
her.
wasn't even her. They
Oh boy,
literally,
that is a big o
yeah,
fu to public service. It was sad.
yeah.
It was just really sad. And that's just like this is just the tip of all these other cases. And
Well,
they gave a theory or like a fact saying that like, like 96% of women that actually say they were raped. It's only a very small fraction. Like it's almost like if you say that's the case,
yeah,
they don't take that light. They don't say that lightly. They don't say that lightly.
I
I mean, I don't
don't.
know anybody that would, but because there's rape kits, because it's a serious thing. But in those instances, in those stories, it
Me da escalofrío, güey. Literally, I just got chicken skin right now. I'm
yeah.
like, ugh.
I
Just
mean,
because it's frightening, you know, that we as women already have to fear so much for our safety. And then, you know, then to know that you can go to the police and then they can turn you into a
a
suspect and
suspect.
arrest you after you've been violated. You know, it just I was so just I was so horrified. Seriously, I was like, oh my
I
God,
feel
I
so
need
bad.
somebody else to be horrified with me.
Yeah, it was like I was like, what the? I
Okay,
was
so
mad. I was kind of like
what
yelling at the
was your
TV, going
were
like,
you also yelling at
I
the
was like
TV? Because
yelling at
I
the
was
TV, going,
too.
"No, motherfuckers!" Like, see, what about that one detective who the investigative journalist was trying to get, and he finally said, "Okay, I'll do this. I'll do the interview." And when he did the
And he
interview,
straight up didn't even look into the guy at all whatsoever.
yeah, he didn't do any investigating,
Not
and
like
then the guy
literally.
had a prior for rape.
Yeah.
The guy that was accused on that one particular incident had a prior for rape. He's like, no, I would have looked into it. And then he's like, cut the camera, like stop, and like, oh my. What? And then he went and he was looking like for the suspect. No, never heard of him. Oh, it's because it was from the school. And well, like you still didn't investigate. You still
Yeah.
didn't like
Like your
investigate.
job, your sole job is to investigate. Like
That's why you're
you're
a detective. Um,
oh my God, oh my
yeah,
God.
no, that
Wait, wait,
that's
a quick,
pretty
quick,
rough.
quick, quick pause. So I was watching The Simpsons and you know Ned Flanders?
Yeah.
He says, "Oh my stars."
Oh my
I
stars.
was like, "Oh shit." I was like, "Is
Maybe
this where
that's where I
Richmo
got it
gets
from.
it from?"
Nah, I don't know. I don't remember watching that much Simpsons, but I mean, Oh My Stars is from a lot of. I guess it's
I've
been
never
said.
heard it before until
Uh,
you.
yeah, I only recently started saying it, and I don't even know why. It was kind of like a polite way of saying "holy shit," because otherwise I say "holy shit," and then I don't want to say "holy shit." It all started with my niece. When my niece was really small, I used to swear a lot like a sailor. Not that I'm a sailor, but I'd swear a
I
lot, and I
am.
have a. I
And
would
that's why
swear.
I that's why I
So I
swear a lot.
and so I swear a lot, and so I say fuck. And then so when my niece was around, she'd say to me when she was really young, she'd say, "Uncle, stop swearing. Why are you swearing so much?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then it was fuck. And I look over and say, "Well, I didn't say it. I just added a K in front of it. But you know what I meant, so I'm not gonna say it. So fuck. Ka this, ka that, ka this, ka that." But I've been because of that, it's made me think about how not to swear. And so I think that's a nicer way of saying oh shit or oh fuck. Oh my stars. I just replaced it. So that's probably where it came from and how it came from and why I say what I say sometimes. I might
Well,
change tomorrow.
anyway,
Who
I
knows?
just I was watching The Simpsons and I was like, huh.
I
And
You could tell me the episode.
Ned
Does he always
Flanders.
say it or is it just that one episode?
I don't know. I haven't watched The Simpsons in forever, but like it just popped up on my chingadera. And so I was just like, nah, I'll watch it. Like, one of the recent episodes, I haven't
Mhm.
been keeping up with The Simpsons since
Keeping
10
up
years ago.
with the Simpsons? You are not keeping up with the
I'm
Simpsons?
not keeping up with The Simpsons. But anyway, yeah. And so then Ned Flanders says, "Oh my stars." And I was like, you're Ned
That's
Flanders.
hilarious. Ned Flanders. He who Ned is he the neighbor? He's the neighbor, right? I don't
Ned,
know.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
He's
know
the
if Ned
Christian
Flanders.
guy.
Oh my stars.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
That's
crazy.
why I was laughing because I was like, I'm gonna tell him he's a fucking Ned Flanders.
Mhm.
That's
So
hilarious.
then after watching the show, Lala's all like, okay, next, after you finish watching that,
Oh,
watch this
okay.
next. Kind of like our
So
Stanley Kubrick thing. She got like
yeah,
the order of things to follow.
well,
And I'm
because
like, oh, this is cool.
I want you to follow my train of thought, like how I went from this to that, from A to B and then to C. Um,
At first, I didn't know what I was watching, and I'm like,
Me
this is
neither.
like, oh yeah, oh this
Well,
is
me
cool.
neither.
This is
Literally,
like
I don't even read the summary. I don't like reading it. I just like press play and then like surprise me because I like surprises. So to me, I'm like, oh, it's like my own little surprise. So I never fucking read what the movie's about or what the shit like, usually I just like click. And then if it's not good, then I'm like, all right, I'm over this. Like it's really boring, like like the movie Signs. I was
yeah.
watching
What
it.
did you think about that movie, Luckiest Girl
Signs?
Alive?
Okay, so
No,
luckiest
Luckiest Girl.
luckiest girl
So when
alive.
you watched Luckiest Girl Alive, what was running through your head? At what point did you say,
Well,
"Whoa,
it's Mila, and so I was just like, oh, but it's
Mila
very
Kunis?
yes. Uh-huh. And
And
I
are you a
love
fan of
her.
hers?
I
Oh,
am
you
a fan
are.
of her. I
Hmm.
am. And so um I was just like, oh, usually what she comes out in is pretty good. And so I was like, okay. So I'm watching it, and at first it's just like I was like, okay, where's this going? Like, this yuppity couple or whatever.
Yeah,
The
pity
dude is
couple. Yeah.
in New York, and then she starts to have like these flashbacks of, well, it's like her past is coming back because she was in the school in when it was actually her friend that did a mass shooting at the school. And sorry for the spoiler alerts. But
Yeah, we should have
anyway,
prefaced that. We're gonna have some spoilers.
yeah,
So if you're gonna
sorry.
see, you gotta watch this. Well,
Maybe
now you can watch it and go,
pause it right now,
or
go watch
or
it, and then and then come back to us.
and you can have your own opinion, or just come along for the ride and we can give you our take, and then you can
Yeah,
give us some feedback on your take,
yeah,
if you want
exactly.
them.
But she is a victim, but it just happens to be that she was friends with him. And so then people started to make up things saying that she um was in on it because he let her go. And so once again, turning a victim into a suspect, in that sense.
Well,
And like,
in that sense, she really didn't want to say anything about it. It was
yeah.
kind of like something that happened in school, and that's when you're in school, that's your whole world. And so she didn't want to tell. It must have been embarrassing if something like that happened.
No, it's not the embarrassment, it's the trauma. You
Yeah, well,
literally,
the
there
joke,
was an
yes,
entire school full of kids that
yes,
were
but
dead.
oh
Like,
no, not
yes.
the no. I'm not talking about the. So let me just say this. So Mila's character is a teenager, gets assaulted, and this whole thing is on her mind about the assault, and she doesn't know whether she wants to do something or not. But there are other
Well, she
kids.
she gets basically raped, like train style. Like, she was at a party and that's what they did to her. And so this is how this got started. Then she became friends with this group of people, and then they made her feel safe. And they were the guys that used to get bullied, and
By the same
by
group.
by the same group that fucking raped her, basically ran a train on her. And so this is like where it stems from. And so yeah, it's just, I was
Yeah.
just like, holy fuck. Like, well, especially after watching, you know
Well, actually,
victim
after watching the
suspect,
victim suspect, and
and
it's
then
just like,
going to
oh my,
that.
I didn't know that they were going to go into the mass shooting, but once that started, I'm like, oh my stars, this is what this is about. But I didn't understand what the other things. There were like other elements. I'm like, something else is coming, and then when you realize it was a mass shooting, you're like, wait a second, what else is going on? But the story unfolds, and it's actually quite good and really interesting to watch and unfold because there are a lot of moving parts to this movie. I mean, a lot of moving parts. So you got to pay
Yes,
attention.
but
Um,
it keeps you intrigued.
yeah.
It really does. Like, I never once, like, it's the kind of movie because a lot of the times when I'm doing work, and like, I'll be working on my laptop, and then I'll have movies playing in the background. But I'll have movies that like don't really have a complex story, so that I cannot look at it and still follow along. But this is like very like, you have to like pay attention, you have to look at all the little things, because like, and it's just like, fuck. Anyway, I just thought it was so crazy how she
Well,
was the victim of both rape and this mass shooting, and she was made to
it
be
was like,
this suspect, and it's just
yeah.
like, oh my God. And I was like, oh my
And
God,
since
that's a
we've gone to
double
the,
trauma.
yeah, since we've gone this far, what happened was the guys that were bullied, the guys doing the mass shootings were also her friends, and they were trying to egg her on, saying, "You should be part of this. You want to do it."
Mm-hmm.
As they were shooting everybody, like getting everybody back. And so they let her live. It's just like they saw her at one point and they let her go because, they were her friends.
Well,
And
she
this
ends
is
up
why everybody's
stabbing her
saying,
friend.
yes, after he shoots somebody point blank.
Yeah, after he
Because,
shoots her rapist, one of the rapists. He
yeah,
shoots him and then she stabs him. But it's like, fuck, like,
it's
I
pretty
don't know.
brutal.
It is. I
But
was just,
and it goes on as one of the rapists, one of the guys that
oh yeah,
um
he shot him, and that was the
he's
guy that was in the wheelchair.
yeah, there's a guy who survived but was now in a wheelchair. And so he was later in life talking about, mass shooting and gun laws and things like that.
Basically monetizing the fact that he was a survivor, but
He was a
she's like,
rapist
but he's
survivor.
a rapist survivor, like, and people feel bad for him and feel sorry for him. And he was like, and he was trying to tell Mila, like, hey, follow along on this ride and I'll take you and you will have all this fame and money and da 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 da. And she was like, no, fuck you, fuck off. And so it just,
Yeah,
I
they
was
kept trying to
just,
interview her. He kept trying to go back.
yeah.
You know, uh, and yeah, it's just pretty brutal. I mean, that movie was brutal. I was like, in a strange way, I was like, what? You know, it is sad. The first one was really sad. I don't know how it left me feeling. It didn't let me feeling, but I chose to watch the next movie like right after that. So I was like, okay, here's the next one. And I was like, and then I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, can somebody take this like 5,000 pound weight off my back right now? Cause this is really heavy. Like all like this, I mean, movies are supposed to be entertaining, and it was entertaining. But sometimes, you know, this is one of those movies that has social commentary, where it's entertaining, but it has social commentary, like what we're talking about with like Stanley Kubrick and Leaving You Things, where this
Hmm.
movie is straight up telling you, like, well, here you go, here are all the pieces. You like, you can answer these questions for yourself. We're going to give you everything to look at. Um, and it was cool. It was cool. It's just a heavy subject matter,
I just
you know. I
traumatized Richmo, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's just like it's I mean, much like anything else, it's just like hard to comprehend after watching the documentary and then watching this movie. It reinforced the fact that the pressure that Mila's character was feeling, that this was a real thing. It's just like, you never understand, well, like, well, why this, why that, when you have these ideas. But after watching the documentary, you're like, oh no, this is the kind of stuff that happens. This is happening. This has happened to her. And this is what was
Yeah.
going on. And that was kind of crazy. Like watching those two things, it kind of reinforced the fact that, yeah, this is like no good. No bueno. No, it's not bueno. That that character's state of being and the things that she went through were real. It kind of elevated the movie in a way. That's exactly what it did. By watching
Well,
that first, it elevated the movie in a way that, had I watched it just without even seeing that documentary, would not have affected me as much. But I don't know if I was scarred from the documentary and then I watched this. I'm like, no, wow, and it's like I can't
well,
look away. I could
that's
not look away.
that's
I was just like,
precisely how I
mm.
watched it, because I watched the documentary and then I was like, oh, let me watch something, lighthearted because it's Luckiest Girl
Let me
Alive.
let
And
me
so
let me
I was
watch.
just
Yeah,
like,
maybe she's lucky for a good reason. Like, is she gonna win a pony?
and
She's not gonna win a
surprise,
pony.
surprise.
Yeah. Does she win the lottery? No, she did not win the lottery.
And it's just,
However,
no, but like just it literally in watching the movie, and like how her fiance treated her and how she had to put on this like facade for everybody. It just,
it's the world that she was living in. That was her POV,
yes,
I think. And
exactly. The world that she lives, but it's the world that we all live in. And it's just like society puts all this like you're the victim. Like you shouldn't have to fucking run through hoops to be accepted or to whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's just, I don't know. I just felt that it went so well with that documentary, because that's what they were talking about in the documentary, is that
If you guys
they're
all
creating.
remember, if you guys all remember when we were having wine and chocolate and cherries, it's kind of like that. It's like you're having a cherry and then you have your wine and then it's like a good match. So it's like the documentary was a good match for the movie. It was just like a perfect thing to watch.
I
And
was
just like
wondering
I'm
where you
saying
were
it,
going with that.
yeah, it elevated the movie. It actually did, you know? It's just
It
like
was a good
what then
pairing.
it was a great pairing. And
It
we
was
know
a
how
great
Lala's into these
pairing.
pairings.
I love
So
pairings.
so the pairing the pairing of these two movies was wonderful. I wish I had
Wunderbar.
something else to go with it. I mean, I was just like, here's a
Well,
bag of fuck you with another bag of fuck you even more to make you understand how fucked up this whole
oh
thing
my
is.
God. You know what? One time my friend sent me a bag of dicks
Like
to the
candy
boat.
dicks or
Yeah.
like the yeah, yeah.
I opened it and I
That's
was
hilarious.
literally having like lunch
With
on the
friends.
boat.
Oh, I got do something
Well, with
else.
all my coworkers, like all the guests had gotten off the boat. And so we like Saturdays is when we clean the whole boat and then get it ready for the next uh group of clients, because we do 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. And so I'm sitting there and then and they're like, oh, you got a package, because like they bring in all your mail, because only Saturdays is the time you have like reception to check your emails, call people, but it's also your busiest day. So you don't have a lot of time. And so then we would get our, and I was out of Juneau. I was working out of Juneau at that time. Then they're like, hey, you got a package. And I was like, oh my God. And so like I'm sitting there like in the big dining table with all my coworkers. And then I open it, it's a bag of dicks, like gummies.
Oh my
I was like,
stars.
oh my God, that was so funny. I was just like, well, anybody want some gummies?
Speaking of which, gummies. Oh my stars. Yeah, no, that I don't know how that pairing happened or why, but it was pretty good. It was great, actually.
I mean,
Thinking
it
back
just,
on like those two movies back to back. I mean, maybe there's a lot of things like that that go great back to back. I just don't know.
I mean, I
Me-
just was like on a movie binge thing. Like sometimes I do that. Like there's times where I'm just like, I'm so busy and I'm doing things, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll go through like 2 days where I'm just like, I'm not going to leave my house. I'm going to watch movies for 2 days straight, And so like I go
You're a
through my
diary.
like,
Buy the popcorn, get everything, just chill out, pajamas,
yeah,
maybe
I
even a giant
literally,
bean bag.
I mean, I just chill, man. Like my place is like the shiznit for chilling. But yeah, so like I was in one of those binging moments, and since I got laid off, so I was like, well, I got plenty of time after I applied for my unemployment. But yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to traumatize you equally as I was being traumatized by
Yeah, it is kind of
my.
traumatizing, I'm just thinking, like, I mentioned this earlier. There are victims, like the rape victims being, coerced or not coerced, but interviewed into, soliciting, question or answers that are not really exactly what, I don't know at the time of people. Like, I'm just thinking about how much this
Well,
actually happens to other victims and other crimes, where you're just like frazzled, and then they're like, "Well, where were you at the time?" And exactly this. Were you saying that? Like just their kind of questioning, instead of being understanding of a victim, how they kind of want to turn it around. Like, what are you
but
looking
it
for, man? It's
seemed
like somebody's traumatized. There's
like
PTSD going on. There's a lot of things going on with somebody.
it seemed
I
like
mean, I
it
wish somebody
was
could tell us that.
it seemed like it was mostly from like police departments that are out in the boondocks, like that have that mentality of like a boys club mentality,
Oh, you mean like the Bible Belt
like
back,
Texas,
the
like
Bible Belt. Dare I say that? When they call it the Bible
Bible
Belt,
Belt. What is that?
because there's so much religion in that whole area.
Yeah. And so it's just, and this is like, well, I wanted to bring it up because I wanted to bring up toxic masculinity, and how it affects women, and like this is a prime example of how patriarchy, like that mentality, and then how it needs to be highlighted so that we can not, like I had to raise a kid, I had to raise a boy, and bro, I didn't have a dad, nor do I have brothers. So I literally was like, how the fuck do I raise a man? You know what I mean? And so what I did was
Raise a
like
man.
raise a man to be kind to women. And that's the kind of man that I chose to raise. Like I chose to be like, no, you're gonna know about my motherfucking periods. You're gonna know that, yeah, it fucking hurts. Like, da da da, can you make me some tea? Etc. Like I wanted to create a man that went against that patriarchal mentality. So maybe, and I really think like a lot of the times, like there are men like that because their mothers raised them to be like that. And to me, this seems very weird because as a woman, how would you raise a man to be this way towards women? Like be a
It
fucking
almost seems
predator
like
and
that
a
attitude is from
rapist.
a different time, like the
No, this is still happening, and that's what
no,
I'm
I know,
very.
no, I understand, but it's just like they're still holding on to kind of this idea where the man is everything, and granted, there's people that like that or that want that, but I don't think that's very that's not, dare I say, progressive and what's happening now. I mean, there's a lot of change that's going on now, but I don't think there's enough change. Um,
Well, I mean, in comparison, and this is what we were talking about in the last episode, was how that's why I like to see the old movies, because I was like, oh my God, and I get shocked because they say things that you would never say now, and it's just like
mm,
fuck. But so it has gotten better, but I still, I don't know. I always try to see like how can I do my part.
okay,
But
yeah, no, do your
and
you're doing
but
your part. Every little bit helps. I mean,
I
we
just
live
I
in the
just
greater Los Angeles area, and I think for the most part in the bigger cities, it's there's you get like the whole kind of enlightened mentality where people say you're woke. It's not that you want to be woke, or you just kind of have an understanding of everybody's space, and you kind of accept that and you give everybody their space. You can be whoever you want, act how that's your space if you have that kind of
I
attitude.
have been told that I was in a Zoom meeting, and it was I- and like there was a man on there, and he was like, I don't know, just the way he was speaking, and I was so offended because of what he was saying. But then he kind of like didn't say that to me, but just kind of hinted that, oh, like millennials, woke mentality, da, 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 like just try to
No,
dismiss
it's just be
dismiss
civil,
me
man.
and my thinking. And I'm like, look, bro, like because they were taught, like I don't even we got totally off topic in this fucking meeting, and this is one thing I hate about meetings. People don't stay on topic. And somehow that's when the Dodgers chingadera came up. And he was like, yeah, I'm never gonna fucking support the Dodgers
Well,
because
what do you mean the Dodgers
because of
chingada? Can you explain?
the nun situation. It's like a comedy group, you know. So it's like a theater, and they just, you know, like it's nothing like like I don't know. But to me, it doesn't seem like a something to
They were
be
they were
upset
like drag
about.
queen nun. I mean, like what?
Yeah,
I don't
drag queen
understand.
nuns. And
They
and
were drag
so
queen nuns.
and so I was like, what is the fucking difference
Okay.
of them dressing like drag queen nuns, okay, and then all those slutty nurse nuns that come out in every fucking
Halloween
Halloween? And I was like, how is it a like why are they not protesting slutty nuns every
on
Halloween? Like,
Halloween. Yeah,
yeah,
if you're
and I
that
was just like,
pious, like
what,
what's up?
what's the fucking big deal? Well, to me, because I'm very immersed into this community, so to me, I see a very normal, you know what I mean? Like, but I was in this meeting with some dude that, you know, and it was like several people, but he was one of the only ones that was very like, yeah, no, I'm gonna burn all my Dodgers shirts and da, 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 and I was just like, well, why? And, you know, and then like he was just like, well, because this is not moral, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking
What?
about? It's a fucking show, like how they
Just
had
a show.
that play about the Mormons, and it's a comedy, like bro, do you not know art? Like, are you not aware of how
There's something called
satire?
satire.
Yeah, how satire
That's how it
works. Do you
works.
not
That's
know
how it
how,
works.
like, should I give you a class? And but I was just so like, what? Like, but
I think
I
we're going down a rabbit hole. So what happened? So this guy used that as the thing. You guys were talking about this subject, and he didn't like something. So he started saying, "I don't like this. I'm going to burn all my shit." I was like, "What? Like what? What are we even talking about? Like,
yeah, I
why are
don't
you
even
telling
know
me
how
your
it
opinion? Is somebody
I don't
asking
even
you?"
know, nobody did. And I don't know how it even came up because we that's not even the subject matter that we were talking about, but he just brought it up and I was just like, the fuck is this fool talking about? Like, are you and literally I just stayed quiet. I just was just like, because you know me. If I talk, I'm gonna be like, bro. Like
You gotta just let me speak my mind, Mister. And beep, beep, beep,
that's
beep,
why we
beep.
have a
If you had a
podcast
beep and we have a
that I
like
can.
beep, 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 beeping on a thing, just
Yeah, and I was just like, yo, this is not the place nor the motherfucking time nor the space for you to fucking say this shit, and especially because it's sounding very homophobic to me, and I do not tolerate that. And I'm just like, ugh, I was literally like, anyway, um, yeah, I don't know how we got into that, but um, yeah, it was just weird to be in that conversation because,
and he didn't think you understood because
well,
you were
I didn't say anything because if I said something, I was gonna say something like, and it was
go
gonna
fuck yourself.
trigger a fucking very bad because
So you let it slide.
I literally just fucking
Held it
just
in.
shut
All
my
right.
fucking mouth
Is it?
because
Can you say what you wanted to say right now to this guy? Is that possible, or were they going to find out? Go ahead.
no, uh
Go ahead.
fuck off, motherfucker. Stop being an ignorant motherfucker. And how about you fucking find out that this group actually raises awareness and money for people um who have HIV and all the good that they do. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they are not. putting down the fucking Catholic Church. Like, oh, you do mean you want to defend the Catholic Church that fucking rapes little boys and children and like hides it? And then like, what the fuck are you defending? Like, what the fuck are you defending? What about the
You heard it
Catholic
here
Church are
first.
you fucking defending? Seriously. What? Like, oh, that the church has fucking killed so many women, so many gay people because and then we can they cannot have a fucking satire show about it. Like, are you fucking serious? Fuck off. Fuck off with all the damage that the Catholic Church has done to people, especially women and people who are gay. Like, just fuck off. Fuck off. And that's what I want to say to that motherfucker.
All right.
Fuck
And you know what? We're
off.
not going to get booted or nobody's going to say anything here back at you. If you want to say anything, then go fuck yourself.
Well,
This is bad.
I mean, I guess
Listen to me.
you
If you
can
want to say
email
anything bad,
you
you can
can
email us and let
you
us
can
know.
email us and we'll process it in my complaint box called the shredder. No,
It's
just
all
kidding.
good, man.
No. We accept
Everybody
everybody's.
have we can have your
I
opinion.
just
You could,
I
of
just
course, and
and
no
this
offense
is
to you if
just
you're a Catholic. I mean,
yeah, no
because if you're
offense.
Catholic, there's bad Catholics too.
It just I don't
I
want to
never met a
offend
mobster that didn't go
anybody,
to
but he offended me so much with what he was saying. Like, oh yeah, they're just doing a mockery. And I was like, bitch, what the fuck? Like, first of all, you don't even know what this group is about or what they do and what they fundraise for. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing to fundraise, like for whom? Like, no, fuck off and shut the fuck up. If you don't know
if
about it, at least be educated about it. Like,
if
ugh.
anything, I would
Ese
have said to
güey,
the guy, you
neta,
know what they were doing? They're not only being drag queen nuns and raising awareness for their own causes, but guess what? They're raising awareness of the Catholic Church because they're dressing up as nuns. And whether you like it or not, it's giving influence out there for that religion, even though it's a satirical thing.
pero
So it just
eso que
depends on the way
tiene
you
que
look at
ver?
it.
But
I know because that's what I would say because I turned around to that guy. I'd say, they're making everybody aware of the church too. So it's like a kind of double-edged sword there. They're
well,
just raising money for their own.
I guess because in my mind, I never saw it how he explained it in that meeting.
Yeah,
And so
he's offended.
when I heard his way of
He's
processing this, I was just like, I was so offended. I was like, oh, and I
yeah,
was like, how
because
dare you
he
say
was
this? Like you literally are missing the point because they're trying to raise money and raise awareness. Like,
what is it?
what do you, it's like, what do you, I just didn't understand. I was so lost for words and I literally had to, bro, it took a lot for me not to talk.
Well, that's
That like
I'm happy you didn't get into a
bro,
verbal
that was gonna be
argument in the middle
ugly.
of a
It was
meeting
gonna
because that
be
would have been ugly.
yeah, no, that would have been really
However,
bad.
it's good to kind of have your voice now. Like, yeah, that's why I asked you. Just say what you wanted to say to this guy right now because
Oh,
you
thank you
shouldn't
so
hold that in.
much. I appreciate it. I was so fucking livid. You don't understand.
I could,
I hate
you know,
I hate not being able to say what I fucking want to say to somebody because I have to be polite, and it's just like, hijo de puta madre. I was just like, lo quería
you
ahorcar,
know,
cabrón.
it's
Like,
just
literally,
like
if I could just
you
like,
can be in a room. I've been in a room where like people are toxic and they're like there's one
yes,
toxic person, but nobody wants to say anything because everybody's nice enough not to really engage. But at the same time, we're all like, well, because nobody engaged, they're still toxic. Nobody's really like confronting the toxicity level that they are like spreading in the room. And after the fact, we had talks about it, but still nobody they're like, you know what, this is going to pass.
And he's
Like, it's just like, well,
and he's one of those guys that is like a apocalypse dude, you know,
like a
fucking have a
prepper.
shelter underneath your home. You like he's just a very far out guy. And I'm just like,
Everybody has their
güey, las
opinions. Yes.
pendejadas que dice ese puto güey, neta, I am just like, mendigo. Like, do you know how retarded you sound? Like, you are so, it just, it bothers me that he's so fucking ill-informed, uneducated, just biased, opinionated. Uh, he
But you know what? But that's his opinion, and that's well. Here's the thing too.
No,
Just
I
like
understand that. I understand that, but I don't go and fucking uh, say things to hurt other people, even though I don't agree with them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, like, the way he speaks, he does not even take that time to care about how he speaks about a certain thing that he does not agree about. And it's cool. You don't have to agree about it, but you don't have to be fucking mean. You don't have
He
to
doesn't,
be
and he doesn't want to
aggressive.
listen
You
to
don't
the
have
other
to
side
be
of the other opinion.
exactly. And he does
It's
not
like
want to
his way or
learn
no way.
about it. But he doesn't want to
Yeah.
learn about it either. And so it's just like, well, okay, then you're just because as much as I don't
Somebody out
agree
there,
with him,
what kind of person is that, folks? The kind of person that doesn't want to hear about anybody else. It's their way and the only way.
oh my
It's like
God,
a
it's called
one-sided
Donald
mush.
Trump.
Oh my star. What kind of person is there? There must be like
It's
a
Donald
technical
Trump. And
tone.
that they want to fucking elect him. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong like, seriously. And this is
And as
why
you
I
can
become a
tell,
hermit.
Lala's going to become a hermit and an anti-Trumper, which I
Well,
think there are a
I'm
lot
an
of.
anti, just I don't want to fucking listen to
I
shit because this
well,
is
there was this.
retarded.
I mean, this is like, it happened really recently. I guess he was arrested, got his mugshot, and there was a party going on because there was people rallying around just waiting to see his mugshot. When his mugshot came up, everybody cheered like, "Yay!" It's like thousands of people in a room on a big screen, and they cheered like at a sports bar. And
Oh, that
I
he
was
got
like,
arrested?
yeah, that they finally took his mugshot
Well,
for Georgia,
finally.
and so the everybody was cheering, happy, and I started to think, well, people are posting this, but are they happy, or are they happy because are they like cheering for Donald Trump? So then I got a little confused. Everybody was saying they were cheering because they were happy that he was arrested, but when
Yeah.
I looked at it, I'm like, are they happy because he got arrested, or are they happy because that's their guy? So I didn't I quite understand. It
Well,
could have gone either way.
I
Like
would
if
have
you put a video
assumed.
saying, like all the supporters are excited to see him on TV again, yay! Or all the anti-Trumpers are happy to see him finally get arrested. Yeah, like you could have made a video with the same thing and just changed the text, and you would have went like, "Huh?" I would have went like, "What happened?
Because you're
What's going
always
on?"
thinking about things like in the editing world. I think that's where you get confused.
But oh, that's
Because
true.
you
Did
can
you? I
edit
mean,
it, you can edit
yeah,
it to either side. So
yes.
I
So I was a little
understand.
confused.
Hmm.
Um, but
Okay.
let's not go down that politic route right now, even though it's very important to the now. And let's get back to victims and crime. And one good thing that the documentary showed with it, there is actually change and there is movement by one of the guys who is training detectives and how to respond to victims of sexual assault and things. So there is a good spark of justice and something good that came out of this,
Yeah.
that I know that there is something good, like there are people actually working towards doing good, and he's a hero, this
And the
man.
guy who's doing the training, his sister
Yeah, his
was
sister raped
was raped
twice.
twice. Like, and so this
And
is if he said he's like, I know the suffering that she went through, and he like he was crying and stuff, and he's just like, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so, but he's trying to do his part in how to educate different into like the police force and how to deal with rape victims so that they don't feel like this, so that you're not interrogating them, so that you're not, because they already went through trauma, like don't interrogate them like if they're the suspect, you know what I mean? Like,
there's ways to ask questions without having, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I could say the same thing 100 different times from 100 different editors or whatever you want. But it's really it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's like the delivery. Um, and I thought that was very important. And I was
yeah.
happy to see that. I was really happy to see that
And
because
that they
that's really what I believe. Like that kind of form of education is what I think should happen across through domestic abuse, so that you don't get like people
and that
getting shot for no reason. Or
he brought on two of the girls to like a forum that they had, and the girls spoke about their abuse to this police officers that were like at a conference. And then you see the face of the officers and the detectives when the women were like, and this is how I was spoken to, and this is what, and I had to go through this. And then they explained exactly what they had to go through in the rape, and then their experience with the police, and that they actually had to go to jail because of inadequate fucking detective work. And so you see the facial expressions on the officers, like they're disgusted, and it's
yeah,
just
I
like,
think
but
one of
it's
the
just
girls said like,
because this, you're bringing awareness to them. And so I think this is what it is, like you need to just bring awareness, because they're just treating everybody like suspects because that's what they're taught. And this is what we remember we were talking about, like defunding, and I said no, I said let's fucking educate,
mhm,
like
mhm.
let's educate the officers. So anyway, I just, like some good came out of it, like
Or at
there's,
least you see there's a silver lining somewhere. And it's there are always good people out there doing good things to kind of move the meter, so to speak. When I say the meter, the bad, the bad meter, the uneducated, to those who don't know. They're trying to make an effort to educate those who are in the position to actually enforce or treat people in a nicer way. Um, yeah, that was rough. That was rough. I mean, it
but
is a really big deal and it's very heavy subject matter because of what it's dealing with. We're dealing with rape. And, when you say it as like I say assault, but it is rape and it's a horrible word, Lala. And it's very violent
that's why I
and it
wanted to
just
say it,
has
because
all
when you
these
say
things. Yeah,
assault,
I
assault
I
can
know, and
be
that's why I'm
anything.
I'm coming
And
back to it. I'm
I
saying,
I
you know
am
what?
like, no,
Say it
no,
for what
no,
it
no,
is.
no. Yeah, exactly. Like say it for what it is. It's a man. And then the fact that they try to tell women, well, it's because you were dressed too sexy. And it's like, why don't you think about why a man should rape anybody, regardless of how they're dressed? How is that okay? How are you questioning the way I dress? Shouldn't you be questioning the motherfucker that is raping? Because rape should never be okay. Even if you're dressed sexy. Like, oh, so that means that it's okay? So you are saying that it's okay for me to be fucking raped just because I'm dressed sexy, because the man can't contain himself. So then you're saying that a man
Yeah, that's never right.
has,
Anybody that says that is like
Well, police
They
officers
should.
do say that.
Well, they it's like one of
That's what they were saying
the
to those
survivors
women.
said,
That's what they were
yeah,
saying
but
to
one of the
those
survivors
women
said,
in this
if you're
fucking
not ready to do the
documentary.
paperwork, you're in the wrong line of work because it is a lot of paperwork. That's part of the job, you know. If you don't want to do something because you don't want to do paperwork, then you're in the wrong line of work
Yeah, just
because
fucking
you're
quit,
supposed to be there
motherfucker.
to be helping
Fucking quit.
people, not to be fucking just taking a paycheck. I mean,
But
you want to be a hero? Because
going
detectives are heroes
back,
too. They help people. They're heroes,
going
to a
back
lot of people.
to what I was saying is that it's societal thinking because they still blame women for being raped because they are too sexy, because they're too drunk, because they're too this, that. Like, why don't they ever focus on the men? They always focus on the women and what we did wrong to get violated. And it's just like, no, that is not the problem. You know what the problem is? That motherfucker who is thinking about raping women, regardless. Why aren't you fucking talking about him? Why are you, and I don't mean you personally, Richmo, I'm just talking about you as in society, telling me as a woman that I cannot wear a dress at night because some guy's gonna rape me. And I should not wear that because I will be enticing. Like, can a motherfucker have like hold his pants? Can like you do you see what I mean? How
Hmm.
society is
No,
turning it
I mean
on
that's
against
just for.
us.
I don't think like I know that there's a group of people that kind of like, well, yeah, I think that's changing. I mean, I want to be
Well, it
optimistic,
hasn't. That's why I made you watch these movies, and that's why I made you watch them back to back like this, so that
right?
you are
Right,
understand
because there
exactly
is
that
change.
it's not changing fast enough.
Hmm. Well, by us talking about it, I hope you guys could look into it. I don't know what the numbers are for like these cases, but right now we're talking about rape and how horrible that is, and how victims sometimes turn into suspects because of the you know
Patriarchy.
negligence of the detectives and patriarchy, or the attitude towards women.
Yeah.
Um, and so hopefully, your police force is turning it around. I mean, maybe it's something you should ask about your wherever you're living, wherever you're listening. Hopefully, they're not doing shit like this. Hopefully, they're helping people out, and hopefully, n- you know, I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
just
I
like
have never
that's fucking
encountered
violent.
anything like this,
No, I
and
mean, you wouldn't
and so
think that that
that's
was
why I
what's
was
going to
so
happen, but then
shocked.
now you're like, what?
That's why I was so shocked to see this documentary because I was like, and I've worked in that field with helping victims and stuff, and I just never heard of that, like literally never. And so I was so fucking shocked. But then all the cases were from like, what you call the Bible Belt or whatever. So I'm like, oh, maybe this occurs there because, well, not in LA. I mean, probably it does, but
I'm
not as
sure it
much,
happens in
not
a
as
lot of
much.
places. Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to bring it up because I was
It's our own
fucking
public service announcement in a
mortified.
way.
I was fucking mortified that I could go to jail if I get raped. Like what? Like
It's not all
this,
sunshine and roses on this podcast. Sometimes you got to
bro.
hear about this stuff. Oh, my
I
stars.
can go to jail for being raped. Like, que puta madre, wait. Like, what kind of world do I live in where
I
I
mean, you know
get
what
I
the
get
things
raped and then I go to jail? Like, what the fuck?
I think the one thing I got out of this is if this ever happens to you and you need to go to the police or something, ask for an advocate.
Yes. Oh my
It
God.
seems like there are people
Yes.
who are advocates or someone that can help you who deal with this. Ask for them before you speak to anybody.
Yes, always do. Always have a legal representation whenever you go to the police, please. And people have, and I'm like, no, bro, just fucking get it. Just get representation, because like how they were talking about in the documentary, they can fucking manipulate you. They can lie to you. They are allowed to lie to you so that you can stumble upon your words, and and like, unfortunately, that's how it works. So just always, if you want to take anything from this, always get legal representation.
Oh my cars. That is.
Tú y tus pinches estrellas, cabrón.
Yeah, mis estrellas
Okay.
están chingados. You put out the lights and lights. You gave me stars with that. Was just like you get
I
punched.
know.
Yeah,
Well,
that was a fucking
I had to
double
traumatize you, because I
a
was
double
like,
feature that was like, what?
I need somebody to fucking
Be
go down
traumatized
this
with
rabbit hole. Yeah, exactly. So you're welcome.
Lala, it's gonna be Lala's double features every week.
You're
Like,
welcome.
I mean, we should do a Lala's double feature night every so
Double
often, because
feature
it's just
night.
it's like, what
I
kind of
see what
pairing is
you
gonna happen this time? So
Well,
there you go, folks.
I just wanted to bring it up. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And if you guys have any questions, or if you have any input, please email us, and stories
At Whahahappen.
.com.
Oh yeah, at stories at Whahahappen.com. Victim Suspect and The Luckiest Girl Alive. Check it out.
They're all on Netflix.
So if you got Netflix, and they're not sponsoring us, but whatever.
Oh,
Netflix,
I know.
if you're listening,
Yeah.
hook it up.
Netflix.
Hook us up. Anyway. But you know what, guys? This is Richmo.
And this is Lala.
And then we'll see you again on whahahappen.com. Bye-bye.
Bye. To follow us, you can go to whahahappen.com for a link to all of our social media and to read our bios.
If you would like us to read your story,
may it be funny or scary or just some hot cheese mix,
please email us at stories@whahahappen.com.